leave from my position with the Canadian Forces Communication Reserve so that I can have the opportunity to represent you. I'm committed to the defense of Canada, but the real threat to this country does not come from people 6,000 miles away in the sands of the Middle East. It comes from politicians in Ottawa who, no matter how well-intentioned they are, continually chip away at our freedoms and liberties. Every election, we are asked to make the choice between the lesser of two evils. But there is no fundamental difference between the major political parties in Canada. They grow the size of the government, they shift spending from one special interest group to another. We need serious change. We need sound money, and we need to enable the free markets to work. We need the freedom to make choices for ourselves and our families. We need to be able to keep the money we work so hard for. The government does not know how best to spend our money. Over the last few years, we've been hit hard by inflation. Today, Canadian families are struggling to pay bills and put good food on the table. Since last year, the average family is paying 28% more for basic groceries. The price of gas is at a steady rise, but there are no new refineries being built to satisfy the growing demand. Our public health care system is in an unacceptable condition. We have people dying in waiting rooms for the hospitals across the country, and no one is doing anything to make the lines any shorter. We have ever-growing entitlement programs that we cannot afford. No one who is my age believes that there will be anything left of the Canadian pension plan for them when they retire. None of the other parties are offering you real change. They are the ones who have helped move us into the position that we are in today. We need that change, and that is what I offer you. Thank you. Every night we watch our neighbors just sell on a path to a depression. Our government is standing at the gates, watching the plumes of smoke, trying to assure us that we are insulated from the U.S. market. This is simply not true. We exist in a global economy where our future is linked to the U.S. dollar. The sad part is that no one in Ottawa is talking about the root causes of the economic crisis that is just around the corner. To understand why we are in the situation that we are in today, there are two things we must consider. The first is our fractional reserve banking system, and the second is our fiat currency. When interest rates are artificially lowered by a central bank, credit becomes unnaturally abundant. This causes unsustainable and artificial growth, like the housing bubble in the U.S. that is now burst. We do not need to patch the system with nationalization or more regulation. In fact, Fannie and Freddie were creatures of the U.S. government. We need to return to a 100% reserve banking system where the market sets its own interest rates. Since Canada left the gold standard in 1933, we have been on an inflationary system in which the dollar has lost approximately 97% of its buying power. Inflation is a hidden tax that disadvantages the poor and the middle class while giving benefits to the politically well-connected who get to spend the new dollars first. The government tries to convince us that inflation is low and that it is a natural effect of the market, but there is nothing natural about it. When you print money out of thin air, you do not create new value. You only devalue the savings that people already have. Also, inflation is a mandated part of the Bank of Canada's role. We must end the Bank of Canada and return to a currency that is 100% redeemable in gold. Only gold has been proven to limit abuse by government. And yes, you have a 27-year-old candidate here saying these things that your grandfather would have told you. What Mr. Frank said, not everybody on the stage disagrees with him, but I think there's some points that he's missing. First off, we don't just want to punish people. When there's a crime, there's a victim. We need to compensate those victims. The prisoners don't need to get a free ride sitting on the taxpayer dollar in the slammer. What they need to be doing is they need to be working, earning a salary, paying their room and board, and using the rest of their money to compensate their victims. And the other thing that goes along with that is we don't need crimes that don't have victims. You know, somebody walking down the street with a couple grams of marijuana in their pocket doesn't need to go to jail. They're not violent criminals. And when you prohibit something, the people who sell it are criminals. We're creating the system. So I didn't take up my 2 minutes, but one other thing I'd like to say is gun ownership is a legitimate Canadian right, and we're taking away the right of families to defend themselves and their own homes with nonsensical gun laws that only punish the innocent, because criminals still got their guns. We're just taking them away from good people. Thank you.
prisoners out in yellow jumpsuits working on the side of the street, or are you talking about having programs within the federal institutions where they could work off their time?
I'm talking a little bit of both, mostly in programs that would also help them develop a skill set that they can use when they get out. I mean, when we send people to jail and they sit there and they just spend all their time collaborating with other criminals on how to be better criminals, that's not what we want. We want to have those people come up with skills they can use, whether it be woodworking, metalwork, learning how to be a janitor, you know, something that can come out and do something other than be a criminal.